Hello and welcome everybody. Nice to see you here on a Friday night. My name is Johanna Löv and I am the programming director at Fotografiska Stockholm. And we are honored to premiere this Sigma Artist Talk series with the fashion photographer and filmmaker, Norway-born and London-based Sølve Sundsbø. Welcome, Sølve.
Tack.
And you also recently came out with this book, Hanataba, which means bouquet in Japanese. It's published by Sigma Foundation. And you can buy this book and get it signed after this artist talk. And now I want to leave over the word to Greger Ulf Nilson, our moderator for the evening, curator and designer, and a legend within this world that we live in. No pressure. Welcome and enjoy the evening.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here. Before we start, I need this paper because before we start, I just want to excuse myself for not speaking very good English. But we were asked to speak English because they are filming this or whatever. So please have patience for me and be kind. Thank you. Okay, Sølve Sundsbø, Norwegian born. As a curator for your first exhibition in Norway, I wrote a short text. I wrote, Sølve Sundsbø doesn't take photographs, he creates them. A naked man or female monkey, it doesn't matter. It is an exhibition that shows a photographer who changed our perception of reality somewhat by making it its own. And then I will say some quotes about you. He's not afraid of anything. He takes all the risk. On the set and during every stage of the working process, Sølve is a perfectionist. But the best definition is another. He's an explorer. When do you start thinking about becoming a photographer? I mean, from punk, from working in a record store, and a very much skiing person. Can you tell us short about how it started?
Thank you for coming, by the way. Hello, everyone. Lovely weather in Stockholm.
Well, saying that from Oslo and living in London, I don't know.
No, I started, as you said, I started taking pictures of friends of mine skiing, and I started taking pictures of concerts. And it's a great way of taking pictures because when you take a picture, it's very different from doing a painting. When you do a painting, you start with a blank canvas and you fill it with your ideas. When you're a photographer, you start with everything and you have to remove everything that's not part of your idea. So it's a very different concept. But if you take pictures of skiing, you start with a white canvas. If you take pictures of concert, it's usually very dark. So it's a bit like painting in a way. And I think my pictures, without comparing myself to a painter, but it's the same approach. I would like to decide what goes into the picture rather than being an accident. I love accidents. I love taking pictures in real life situations, but I find that it's more fulfilling for me as a photographer to try to create the whole world. The character, the construction of everything is very similar to skiing or concert pictures.
But how did you start thinking of becoming a photographer?
I think I failed at everything else. I wasn't going to be a good writer. I wasn't going to be a good painter. I was certainly not cut out for...
You became a good skier, though.
Yeah, but not compared to the really good ones. No, I think I realized that it was a good way for me to communicate. Because it isn't just about composition or lighting or anything like that. It's a lot about human skills. Yeah. So I always say that when I start taking pictures, there's a lot of photographers that were much, much better photographers than I was, who sort of disappeared because they couldn't deal with all the stuff that's around being a photographer, because I'm a commercial photographer. I don't wake up in the morning and think, oh, what am I going to do
Yeah, but
today?
hold on now.
Yeah.
We're coming back to
okay,
that.
sorry. I like to talk.
Yeah, but I mean, I just want to know what triggered you to be photography. I mean, you said you were not good enough or anything else, but it must have been something more, right?
No, I think okay, I'm going to be careful so I don't start talking again.
No, exactly.
But photography is such a unique way of communicating and sharing something with someone, because, and I know that you probably want, I know you, so I know that you want to talk about this later, but I'm going to touch on it now, is that we all, for some reason, trust pictures. We have no reason to trust pictures whatsoever, but in our mind, of course, we have to trust what we see in front of us, because otherwise you'll fall down the stairs or you walk into a wall, or you won't exist. So we inherently trust pictures more than we trust writing or painting or cinema, or because we know it's made up. But pictures we think are real. So I realized really early on that it was such a strong way of communicating. And when you showed pictures that you taken, people would go, even if it was skiing or concert, they were like, oh my God, it's great. So that kind of enthusiasm of communication, I think it really hit me in the early 90s. And I hadn't really taken many pictures before that. But that's when it sort of started.
Okay. But then you went to London, right?
Yeah. So I started in Norway. With our common friend, Nils Vik,
Yes.
who opened up, I think my career would have probably still been taken off in 2025 if it wasn't for Nils. He opened up a lot of metaphorical doors for me. And then I moved to London in 94.
And you went to this school of photography?
Yeah, for 4 months.
Yeah, and then you became the assistant of a quite famous,
very famous
then, and very hyped, and still
very
are.
famous.
Yeah, Nick Knight.
Yeah.
Tell us about.
So I wanted to work for either Craig MacDean or Nick Knight, and I spoke to Craig, and he said, "Well, if you're going to work for anyone in London, you have to live in London. So you have to have, a bus pass and an address." So in order to do that, I applied to a college. Started working for Craig. Craig introduced me to Nick when I left college. Okay. And I worked with Nick for 3.5 years, which was an incredible school, quite medieval, in the way that you're there from the morning to night, every day, and I mean every day, for 3.5 years.
Being a Norwegian, you said something that I thought was very funny. You said that that Norway is a country with a punk soul. What do you mean by that? And how this Scandinavian life, or born in Norway, you think that had affected you in your photography? Of course, we were coming back to that, but short.
I think in Norway you should know how to do shit yourself, right? And that's very much punk. You do stuff yourself.
Yeah.
You don't wait for someone else to do it. If you can't, if someone else is not willing to do it, you do it yourself. I think that's, very, very Scandinavian. You have to have a sort of inherent do-it-yourself attitude.
Yeah, really, yeah. Albin, my friend over there, he will showing us images sometimes when we talk about it. And now I want him to show us the punk guy. Could you do that? Thank you very much. Oh, this guy is one of your first photos, right?
Yeah. It's shot in my backyard. It's my ex-girlfriend started making clothes. Shot on a Swedish camera. Shot on my Hasselblad back in the day. And she said, "Oh, can you take some pictures?" So, and then a friend of ours put on the clothes, and it was actually, believe it or not, a white wall, and it was snow on the ground. Very nice light, very soft light.
A patient model, right?
A very cold model.
Yeah. Was it a fashion shoot?
Yeah, it was pretty much those two pictures.
Yeah, but was it meant to be a fashion shoot?
It was just pictures of the guy with the clothes.
Okay.
You know, but like, the thing is, if I take a picture of you sitting there, it's a fashion picture because you're wearing fashion. We're all wearing fashion.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, okay.
And I think this is quite interesting because in Scandinavia, we think of fashion as kind of like something that happens in Paris and it's like big gowns and jewelry and stuff. But it's not. We're all wearing fashion all the time. Some more conscious than others, but so it's a fashion picture.
Yeah. No, I you know that I love this image. When I realized, when we did this exhibition a long time ago, and I saw this, and this is and that was your first image. I still think it's a brilliant one.
Yeah, no, it's nice because it's, you know, it's friends. And
it's
you
amazing.
Know,
a famous quote for a photographer called Gary Winogrand said, I photograph to see what the world looks like in photographs.
It's so true, though.
Yeah. Can you...
Yeah, I was speaking to my friend Trygve about this, who you also know, and he said, you know, like, I'm very A4. I have a wife, I have children, I have a Volvo. I get up in the morning, get the kids to school. I live, you know, like a normal life. And then when you look at some of the pictures, they don't really correspond with that kind of personality. And it's like, but when I look at your picture, it's like, where does this come? He's known me for 40 years, and it's like, where does this come from? You know, like, well, that's, you know, like, where does the guy in metal mask with a pink, you know, where does that come from? And it's like, well, it's an exploration because I want to find out what, you know, like that woman painted. I was like, why? Where does that come from? And it is a curiosity, and it's just literally like, I do it so I can see what it looks like. And 9 out of 10 times it looks horrible. And obviously, hopefully, I don't show that. But then sometimes it goes, wow.
We'll get back to that.
Thank you. No, but then you kind of like, so it's a, I think there's a scientist in me somehow, not because of the academic approach, but because of the curiosity.
We were talking a lot about that.
Okay.
You grew up as a science fiction guy, right?
Yeah, of course.
And maybe that has influenced you a lot. I would say so, but also music and technology, and of course a bunch of your fellow photographers, right?
Yeah.
So, but tell me about your interest in music. I mean, you were working in a record store.
Yeah, I worked in a record shop from I was 16 to I was 24.
Yeah.
And music is, you know, it is the most, that and smell are the two most immediate forms of communication, I think. Much better than visual communication because it's much more immediate. And I think what I'm curious about when it comes to the technology side is like, I've always been curious about how we represent ourselves. So, you know, whether it's a hand on the wall with a pigment blown on it, or whether it is a revolution in painting techniques, or whether it is perspective, or, you know, and that keeps on going. And we're living in the middle of a dystopian version of it right now with AI. But I'm always been curious about how do we choose to represent ourselves?
You remember 2013?
Yeah.
We made a job together, living the Nordic life.
Yeah.
And now I want Albin to show us Marie, if you can. Is Marie coming up? Yeah, there she is. You remember this shot?
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I would ask you what makes you curious. But when we were there, we learned. I mean, we were shooting 4 persons that were over 100 years old, and they were living above the polar circles. And we asked them how it was to live in, if it was completely dark or completely light. And but as we were there, we asked them for the elixir of life, and there were people. They didn't know each other, and they were living very far from each other. But they say exactly the same thing, and it was like, well, I don't sit and watching TV, which means that they were just curious about what's going on, right? And yeah, that's, I think, we were very happy to hear that. That maybe that could make us having a long life. Yeah.
We're both, but like also, like you have, what can I say? Photography is so many different things.
Yeah, sure.
And I think it's the same thing with music. I have friends who, for them, music basically stopped in the 1820s or 1830s maybe. And I have friends who are looking for what's happening tomorrow. For them, that's music, right? And I think I'm somewhere in between. I
think you're the whole range.
Yeah, I'm the whole range. That's what I meant to say. And I have no objections to exploring the world with a 10x8 camera and long explore. I have no problem with that. But I don't have any problems with people who are making up complete worlds by just typing things into the computer and making it look photographic either. I think that's curious. But for me, that's less interesting. I need to have some kind of interaction with reality, and we can talk about that in the book afterwards, because that is a perfect mixture of the two in a way. But we can maybe save that for later. I don't know what's in your notes.
You don't. Okay. Getting closer, right? Anyway, I have write this. What was your first confrontation of art? Now, when we're in the field of curiosity, remember that? Mine was when I went to the St. Peter's Church in Rome. I was 8 or 10 years, and when I saw the Pietà, and I think it still is my biggest
visual art. No, but I think it was music for me. Yeah, that I remember from childhood. Yeah. And record covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was it. Which ones, I don't know.
When you start a photo shoot, you're thinking about an image. Do you put yourself in a state of mind? Or, I mean, do you yoga? Do you listen to music? Do you have a walk in the forest? I mean, I know the nature is quite important for you. I mean.
Yeah, nature is very important. No, I don't. I think it's something that's perpetual, something that's always there in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, like that picture is shot in the desert in Morocco. That picture is shot in an attic in London. Like it depends on where you are as well. But I do think music is really important when you're in the studio. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you want to, sometimes you want to take it really, really down. Sometimes you want to take it up. But obviously, when you create an image, especially a fashion image, it's very much a team effort. It's not just like I snap my fingers and something happens in front of my camera. So it depends on the spirit of the team. You have to motivate not just the person or the persons in front of you, but the whole team. Yeah. So it's about certain photographers I know I could compare to kind of cult leaders. They're amazing. Like everyone is like looking at this person like they're some kind of god, and they make the weather. I'm not like that, not to my knowledge anyway. But it is about it's about the mood of the person in front of you as well. Things can change. You can come in with one idea, and you leave with another. Yeah. You have to be flexible.
We get back to that also. But so you would say that being a Scandinavian, that would have affect your language.
Yes, it has. And also it has definitely affected the way I treat people, I think.
And that comes out in the images, right?
I think so.
Yeah, of course.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Because, I really hate treating people like shit. I don't like being cruel. Some people will be cruel and then nice after, to play games like that. Yeah. I can't do that. No. I'm not very good at that.
Guy Baudin was very good at that.
He was incredibly good at that. Yeah. Or like Avedon would, just like hypnotize you, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I'm really fucking bored.
Is London, is that an important, I mean, is it important as a base?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you could have lived in Oslo.
No. I remember a New York Times review of the London Olympics, and it said that London has more tomorrows than Paris and more yesterdays than New York. And I think that's very telling, because it is, for me, it's, you know, I love Stockholm, I love Paris, I love Athens, I love Oslo, all that stuff, but London has got a little bit of everything. I think it's still, in some weird way, the capital of the world. There's no other country, there's no other city where there's more languages being spoken. It's got loads of trouble, loads of problems, but that makes it interesting in a way. That's easy to say because I'm in a well-off position.
Yeah, so you could say
it has got everything.
It's a perfect match then, or whatever. I mean, Oslo and London.
Yeah, if I didn't have my small cabin by the sea or in the mountains where I can run away, I wouldn't be able to live there. Yeah. But yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, so from that, let's talk about your style. I know you've been, you always said, and you pride of yourself, saying that your style is having no style, and that you hope that you will always work this way. I don't know if I could look on an individual image and say, oh, that's Sølve.
Yeah.
But when I see, when I see a few of them, or in a series, I could definitely say, that's Sølve.
Yeah.
But that's not saying, but you're so proud of saying, oh, I don't have any styles. But has that changed now?
No, I don't think so. I think the best, and again, because I don't know if you know, but there's a photo festival going on in Oslo at the moment that I'm part of, and I've won a prize in Norway. So I'm very self-aware this evening of my own work, because I've gone through it and I've talked about it a lot in the last couple of weeks, which I don't normally do. And I presented some work from the very start of my career, where at one point I did something with a 3D scanner. Now we all got a 3D scanner in our phone, but at that point that was a huge machine that took 17 seconds. It could only scan that big part of your body. It was made for American pilots' heads, to measure the heads.
Oh, now you're talking about the Coldplay.
Yeah, that became the Coldplay cover. Well, it was for a fashion story, and then they bought the picture. And then when I'd done that story, people were like, oh, he's like a tech guy. Oh, he's going to do like tech stuff. So obviously the next thing I did is I photographed on a 10x8 camera, which is very old-fashioned plate camera. I don't know if you're into photography, but then it's cumbersome and old-fashioned and as expensive as you can do it. I made huge prints, and I went to a retired retoucher, and I got him to paint, literally airbrush, exactly a copy in paint.
Coming back to that also.
Yeah, but you know, I need to be able to talk about something. And then people went, oh, so now he's like the glam 70s airbrush guy. But who the fuck is that guy? And I'm both of those guys. Mm-hmm. There is no contradiction. I think we all need to kind of understand things by limiting what they are. And I think that's a huge... I think that's your problem, not my problem in a way, right? Yeah. Not you, but you know, people need to categorize things. Oh, he does that, or she does that. It doesn't have to be like that.
I think that's one of your strengths.
It's certainly made it more interesting over the last 30 years.
It's more fun.
Yeah.
Really, right? Yeah. As the audience can see here, we're wearing the same glasses.
I gave them to him. He did, he got in.
So that, because it's a fashion guy, so that means that I do understand fashion. But I will ask you, how do you understand fashion as a fashion photographer?
Well, that's another thing about London, is that in London, fashion is a way of expressing yourself, right? In Milan, you know, the youth looks like their parents. In Paris, they look like their parents. In London, people express themselves through what they wear, often as a means of rebellion. It can be political, as you know, with punk and all that stuff. So it's interesting. And we had the daughter of a friend of ours visiting not long ago. She's 12, and she's grown up in this nice, slightly suburban part just outside of Oslo. And she says, everyone's got the same rucksack, the same shoes, the same jacket, the same shirt, the same everything. And she says, when I come to London, I see, it's amazing. People wear what they want.
Yeah.
You know, and that is such a big difference.
Yeah.
And so it can be, I mean, look at me, I'm in a dark blue suit and a white shirt. It's very boring. But I could if I wanted to.
I'm all black. What do you think diverse you apart from other photographers?
Sorry, what?
What do you think diverse you, your style?
That makes
or
me
whatever.
different. What makes me different from other photographers?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. I mean...
Do you?
I don't know. I think it depends on, sometimes I'm sure I look like other photographers. But I think, as you said, if you look at the bigger picture, I think, and I'm not saying better, because that's important, because I really don't think so.
No, I don't.
But I want to emphasize that, because I really don't have those ideas. But I do think what is different is that there is many ideas, right? And even like really early on, there was a 40th anniversary now of the festival here in south of France, which was a very important part, where I went the second year or a year and a half into my career. And it was, I put up my pictures on the wall, and I remember, a guy going, "Oh, I didn't realize this guy was the same guy," and I have got as I say in England, a bee in my bonnet, which means that I am very, very keen to emphasize this point, that our idea that if you are doing something creatively, if you can only do one thing, is really old-fashioned. Because when I meet young people now, if there's a new assistant, half the problem is like, so what do you want to do? Well, I'm a chef now, but I used to make films, but I'm thinking of doing photography, but I'm quite into music. I'm like, all right.
Multi-talented.
And they can do all of it pretty damn well as well, And I think that's a much more modern approach to it, rather than saying, I'm going to be Mark Rothko and paint squares for 40 years and then kill myself.
Yeah.
But I love Mark Rothko's pictures, but I would kill myself too if I was Mark Rothko. Really.
Oh, wow.
All the Mark Rothko fans in the world are going to hate me now. Sorry.
Some photographers, artists, do the best work sometimes in the really early career. And that's, I mean, that for me, that it's, or for them, I think it's very, very hard to have done like a hit single or whatever in really early, or I mean, being so famous for your first work, like Nan Golding, for example, when she did her first work and her first series. So then you have to work really hard, and I think you were from the beginning, very appreciated by a lot of people. And how have you deal with that, and how did you how have you tried to proceed and do better, do more, do whatever? I mean, how do you keep up with the curiosity, and you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. To keep up with curiosity is not a problem. I think courage might be more tricky, because you end up having kids and a mortgage and insurance and all that stuff. You got responsibilities, and when you start up, you don't have that. So that's obviously one thing. But funnily enough, I feel, I'm not saying that because I'm an optimistic person. I am an optimistic person, but I genuinely believe that I think the best part of my career is maybe still to come, in a way, because you can free yourself. As you get older, you also get freer. Yeah. Whether other people will appreciate it, I can't guarantee. But I think a lot of artists and a lot of musicians, I'm not talking about hit makers necessarily, I think a lot of their more interesting work comes later in life. You have an early hit, you struggle to...
Nick Cave?
Nick Cave is a very good example. He is a very good example. He's someone to admire. And on every level. Not only not only artistically, but on a human level, he's probably a much better human being, and I think he would be the first person to admit it now than what he was 30 years ago.
So what is your driving force as a photographer?
Literally, like the excitement of creating something that you see and you go, wow, that's what it looks like.
Difference from a lot of photographers, I mean, you're very, very, very happy to see your photographs with logotypes and titles and text, like a lot of disturbing things on your image, right? And that makes a lot of limitations in a way.
Yeah,
I mean, how do you deal with that? Thank you very much, Albin.
A lot of stuff going on. Well, it's made to have it. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's great to see it in a gallery, beautifully printed, beautifully presented. Of course, it is. But you know, like these things are covers, and they're made to have an ID logo or a Love logo or a Vogue cover, or you know, like whatever. They're made to have.
But the ID cover is very special from all other covers in the world, because they are from the first cover they were made that integrate the photo and the logo.
So there's always a wink.
Yeah.
The logo is a wink.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, but it's like. It is funny because you know I worked for Chanel for I don't know 17 years, and you can take a very nice picture, and then you stick a Chanel logo on it, and it looks like a really nice picture.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because you know it's a bit like a stamp.
Something's happening.
And you have to be very careful with that, because if you stick a logo on it, you go, oh, it looks like a Chanel picture. It's like no, take the logo away and just look at the picture. You have to be careful. You know, because it's almost like a stamp of approval.
Yeah, I do understand what you mean, because a lot of things happening when you put a logo on it or you take it off.
Yeah.
I remember I did a huge exhibition in the Stockholm Underground, and there was absolutely no logotypes on them. It was just pure photography.
I think I was part of that.
You were. And we were a little bit worried about what people will think about the images, because some of them were quite hard. And so. But as it was no logotypes, they were completely free for the images.
Yeah.
So,
but they should work both ways. You know, that's the thing.
Exactly.
But it has to work both ways. You know, and when we work now, because we used to have acetates that we had to put on top of things, like on top of Polaroids or printouts. But now obviously we can do it digitally.
Yeah. Maybe this is the same thing I'm asking you. But you said you liked you said your work is complex. Your situation, when and you said you like that. And
I like, you know, like, how can I say it? I didn't know, you see that love cover over there. I didn't know who Kendall Jenner was. I didn't know who Kim Kardashian was. I never watched the Kardashians, you know. So I was in the studio in Paris, and I was going to do a picture of Cara, who I do know. And I didn't know her as being famous. I just know her as a model. And then Kim Kardashian turned up, and Kendall Jenner turned up, and Chris, is that the mom? Yeah, Chris turned up. They're really lovely. And my editor knew that I would probably say absolutely no fucking way if she'd asked. So she just invited them. So all of a sudden, you're in a studio in Paris with like the most famous people in the world. But I'm just talking about complexity. And then, and you're like, how do you deal with that situation? What do you do as a photographer? You know, like, okay, well, you take a picture of them and see what happens. And it sort of broke the internet. And I don't care. I'm not on Instagram or anything like that. But the complex situation is the human situation in that moment. And I think that's really as interesting as something complex technically or like as a kind of artistic expression, or I'm curious about those things, and that's why I think it's still great to do what I'm doing.
But I think you're dealing with that situation in a very Scandinavian way. We have a friend together, Michael Johnson, and I think your biggest talent is just to be who you are in that situation, and that's why. And then it comes out pretty good.
Well, you have to, you know, like it's easy to get starstruck, right? It's like because you meet people that you admire, and you meet people that you admire for a long time, and I think they all respond to you being just human.
Yeah.
But it is a complex situation.
It is. So I do understand that the studio is very important for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. More than you prefer to be in the studio versus out
not really, but
on location,
I like being outside. The problem is that, you know, if you deal with very famous people, you have to be, you know, like I shot Brad Pitt and George Clooney, and you can't just take them on the street somewhere. So we shot them in south of France in a very secluded place, and then it's great to be outside. I love natural light, but it has to be a controlled environment because of the people you work with.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about the control. You said your work is complex, and I would say it for me it would be, I think it's pretty complex to shoot in the studio, and sometimes it's a big campaign or a small, just a portrait, and how you dealing with the how you work and approach your models. And now I would like to show Rosie and a panther. Can we have that, Albin?
So this was shot, by the way. Oh yeah, sorry, that was something else.
I want to show Rosie. She's a female monkey. Do we have that? Oh yeah, okay.
Oh, she's there.
So, yeah.
The panther is there.
Yeah. So there we have Rosie wearing a Cartier, and we're having a.
So this bar what you see is the launch of a campaign I've just done for Cartier. This is like the teaser campaign. The complexity here is that the thing you photograph could kill you very easily, and I'm not joking, because you can train a lion, you can train a tiger, but you can't train a panther. So you have to be very careful. But it shows the scope of some of the stuff you do, because it's basically a lot of money involved when you do it. Not for me necessarily, but like to put this everywhere is, you know, the people in the room are quite nervous.
Okay. But so, when you looking for a model, sometimes I guess you will just have we're going to shoot with this, but with this model. How do you deal with it? What are you looking for when using a model?
Are you looking at the monkey now?
No, I'm talking in general. I just want to make this a little bit weird.
So she's called she's called Rosie.
Yeah.
And if you look her in the eye, she does that look. You can see over there. She literally goes, ah. So, and I didn't realize what was going on. But
she's amazingly looking at it. She looks so sweet on the one with the necklace.
Yes, and that was literally a moment.
Yeah.
You can't obviously ask her to do that.
No, I do. I do understand that.
So the thing we're looking at are two things that you can't ask them. So then it's almost like.
Okay, we move on to humans.
Huh?
We move on to humans.
Okay.
Yeah. So what are you looking for when you're shooting a model?
It depends. It depends, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on the story, and also depends on the, you know, and also because it does depends on the clothes as well. You know, something, you know, if you have like a huge ball gown, or if you've got like a super minimalist kind of tight dress.
Yeah.
Then there's two different things that you want to. The story might be completely different. So it really depends on the situation. And but that's the thing with fashion. If you don't like it, wait 5 months and you'll get something else, right? With weddings, people will wear the same shit for the next 20 years. And they want to look good and happy and in love. And, you know, that's why I'm not a wedding photographer. Or a car, you know, it doesn't change very often. So the thing with fashion is that it's constantly changing. And you can express different things with it.
And you said you like them all to look like heroes.
I like to. This is someone who said that to me, and I sort of. someone defined...
I know that a lot of models, like Kate Moss and that, they're extremely happy to be shot by you because they think they look so good and they look really...
But I mean, okay.
I do know that. So.
Wouldn't you want to look good if someone took a picture of you? You know, it is interesting because I learned that lesson quite early on, but someone told me that Sølve, you make women look really strong and the men look really vulnerable. And I was like, I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, we're coming back to that. There is an image that we were going to talk. Yeah. Still in fashion, you were early on shooting for Alexander McQueen.
Yeah, Lee.
Yeah, Lee. And when he died, there was a huge exhibition at the Met in New York, right?
Yeah.
Talking about limitations. Now I would like to Albin to show us the images from that book and exhibition of Lee McQueen. Yeah. So these images, tell us about them because I think they are. It's amazing, and I think it's also very important to know how they are made.
So it is a very...
and the limitations that you have.
Yeah, so it is an interesting thing. Lee was obviously an incredible person, and I did this project with the only person I can safely say worked with him from day one. She's called Trino Verkade, who also looks after his legacy today with an amazing foundation called the Saraban Foundation, where she's taken his inheritance and made it into a foundation for young artists. And she said, because a lot of these clothes can't be touched by humans because they will go into the collection of the Metropolitan, so they will be an archival item, so they can never be worn by humans, they can never be touched by humans ever again. Some of the clothes actually were already archival, so we couldn't be touched by humans. So that means they would have to be on mannequins. And mannequins are, as we all know, very static, and clothes are always best when they're in motion, because that's how they're made. Yeah. So I proposed a concept where we cheated, and it's very much in the spirit of Lee to say fuck off to everything. Yeah. So we made real human beings look like mannequins. So all of these mannequins are actually real human beings painted with a very special paint, which doesn't, it's not a fatty, greasy makeup, but it's a brand new makeup that MAC sent to us as a test. So, but
the makeup didn't cut their heads, right?
But to make the director of the Metropolitan Museum happy, we made him think he was all mannequins. So it's a bit subversive. I think he understood it after a while. So we sort of chopped all their heads off. They knew that these were the fit models, so they got paid. We told them there was no one who kind of. There was no
quite famous models as well.
Yeah, I mean, some of these clothes were made on these bodies,
exactly.
Which means they
so
fit
it was
perfectly.
Lee's favorite models,
absolutely.
Right?
And you know, some of them were in tears wearing the clothes again, and it was a quite emotional thing. And we sort of made it look like there was joints. Yeah. And then the weird thing is that as they were wearing this makeup during the day, you can see. Maybe where is the good? Yeah, you can see on the green dress in the corner. You can see the makeup was wearing off. Yeah. So there's a little bit of humanity underneath.
Or a very scrappy mannequin, you know.
Yeah, or a scrappy mannequin. And I think I gave all the pictures to the Met, which I really regret because I think it's like in the 19th edition or something, that book. But joking aside, we made the book, printed it on quite cheap paper. It was because we wanted students to be able to buy it. Yeah. So it was like $35 or something. Yeah. And I still think it's the most seen exhibition, not because of this book, but it was the most seen exhibition at the Metropolitan. They had to extend it for like 2 weeks or something, because this is when fashion is at its very best. Yeah. that's when I can relate to fashion, because it is an expression of an idea, not just about belonging, but about counter, about ideas, about dreams, about everything.
Lee was very important for you. There was an ad for Yves Saint Laurent, 2002.
Wow.
2002. This is a very important date to know, year to know that it's 2002, because it became so incredible fuss and it went completely crazy about this. This is the first ad of a naked person. Right?
Naked man.
Man, yeah,
Very
naked
important.
man, not woman, naked man, and that was completely.
There's so many things, you know, like there was debates on French TV about this.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Tom Ford, who was the creative director at Saint Laurent at the time, and I said, wouldn't it be great to shoot like a naked guy? And we wanted to have a guy who didn't have a shaved chest,
Yeah.
because men have that.
Yeah.
And we wanted to have a guy who was super fit, but not like
No.
that. So he's a French former Taekwondo Olympian, who I found the day before the shoot. It was very close, anyway. And when we shot him, he was like, oh, do I want to do this? Do I don't want to do this? It was, you know, I said, listen, it's up to you. It's it was, you know, it's completely up to you. I'm not going to ask you to take off your clothes. It was the only time Tom came on a shoot, and I thought, oh God, he's here to look at this naked guy, whatever. But then Tom said, I have a straight art director, I have a straight photographer, I have a straight model.
Yeah.
I needed to make sure that he did what he was going to say. So as soon as he took his clothes off, Tom left.
Okay.
He was like, he's done it, it's fine.
Yeah.
But the sweet story about this picture is that I was in Tom's office in London, and he has a picture of Karin Rothfeldt, Domenico De Sole, and then he had this picture. And next to it was a small picture by Skrybnevsky of a naked guy. And I said, oh, I'm so honored and so flattered that this, you know, my picture is on your wall, blah, blah, blah. But what's with the Skrybnevsky picture? And he said that Skrybnevsky sent him that picture when this picture came out.
Yeah.
Because Yves Saint Laurent and Skrybnevsky had done a picture of a naked guy for a fragrance in the late 70s, early 80s. But when Pierre Berger saw it, he said, no fucking way, we can't do it.
Yeah.
So Skrybnevsky was saying, I'm so happy that it finally happened. But because, you know, this is the thing. We look at naked women in galleries. We look at naked pictures of women more or less dressed in advertising all the time. But we don't see a hairy-chested naked guy ever. And I think the magazines that ran it in the States ran it once. Yeah. And after that, they were told not to do it.
Amazing. Many people quickly get into technology when they see your images.
Yeah.
And now I just want to show the guy shot for face cover. Yeah, this one. And now we're coming to that when you were... Yeah, sorry.
You should have told me before.
Yeah. So this is the guy. Tell us a little bit more. And also I would say, I mean, there is like people really get into technology when they talk about your images. But a lot of images, most of them, are not at all. I mean, it's just shadows or whatever. So that it's very analog, right?
So that picture over there, which is the technological ones, was...
Is that the Coldplay one?
That's the Coldplay one.
Yeah.
And it's also a stamp in the UK.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And when Chris Martin bought that, I did scans of them as well. And I think I've never seen anyone more disappointed than Chris Martin when he met me, because he thought he was meeting some kind of weird German science dude. But technology is, you know, camera technology was once like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing ever. Mm-hmm. You know, so the fact that we got used to it, it's just natural. But anyway, this is super old-fashioned. It's as old-fashioned as you can get.
Yeah.
It's hand-colored photographs, right? So there's nothing technological about it.
67.
It's like completely manual.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And the picture with the shadows is just shadows.
Yeah. Some years ago, photographers working in fashion were asked to be like film directors.
Yeah.
And how did you find the transition from motion to from still to motion? And now I want you to show the images from the films that you took for New York Times that won a lot of prizes. Yeah, with Frank. Yeah. First, you have to answer for the how do you found the transition from still to motion?
I think because.
Are you comfortable with it?
Yeah, I mean it depends on what you mean by film. I couldn't do a narrative feature film.
Okay. But the moving.
Yeah, but moving pictures are okay. But it's like where a picture, you have to imagine like a photograph. You have to imagine everything that happens before and everything after. But you do believe in what's in the middle. So it's very powerful because you both believe in it, and your brain has to make up before and after, right? So it gives you an element of trust, and it gives you an element of imagination at the same time. With film, it very quickly takes that away because you remove the before and after bit. Because you don't have only one frame, you have many hundred frames, right? But if you can reduce it to go from like a sentence of a poem to maybe just make it a poem, then it's okay. Because I can only give you like a literary metaphor. But as soon as it becomes a short story, then it's already into a narrative arch, and then it's losing its strength according to what I'm able to do. So these things are just emotions or cliches. So we did a project for New York Times where we had to film and photograph 14 actors that they chose having done the best performance that year, according to them. And it comes back to what we talked about before. If you meet an actor and you say, oh, you're going to be a cowboy, then they can have a dirty face and be a bit rough or whatever. But if you say, I'm going to take a picture of you for New York Times, they want to look like, they want to look as good as they possibly can. Their hair has to be, and that's natural. They're humans. Mm-hmm. They want to look as good as possible.
Of course, yeah.
So I spoke to Leslie Manville, who's in this film, as the first person I spoke to, and she literally ripped me a new arsehole. I came off that phone call and I was like, I was shaking. She's like, I'm not doing your fucking shit. I just want to look good. Fuck off. I was like, okay. She works with Mike Lee a lot. And I was like, I went to New York Times. I was like, I think we have to think about an idea because we don't have costumes. We don't really have sets. We don't have characters. So we kind of came up with this like concept that all of them were going to do a cliche. So, Natalie Portman is taking her clothes off at the end of the day. Matt Damon is having an argument. Tilda Swinton is suffering. She's inspired by the Hans Dreyer, The Suffering of Joan of Arc, the silent film from, I think, 1934. So they all had this like, okay, and they can get into that. And then it's an idea rather than a narrative arc. And they could get into it. And it won an Emmy? Yeah, I've got an Emmy for that. And that was the first sort of proper film project I did. And it's been downhill since, really.
And now you still, now moving images is so much a part of what you're working with.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, James Franco, that was 5 o'clock in the morning before he went to a film set. And I said, okay, I've got a mirror and I want you to kind of seduce yourself. I want you to kind of, okay, let's pretend you met yourself in a nightclub.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, that's cool. And his publicist was like, you're not fucking doing that. He's like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And this is like a very sober take. He was really going for it. I mean, it's like we had to clean the glass afterwards. It was like literally like, it was like a dishwasher on there, He was...
It's doing good. We're ending up. I would ask you very easy question. What do you think has been the most important thing in your career so far?
I can't even answer what I had for dinner yesterday. I think, in an abstract term, I think a friend of mine, who's a dear friend of mine, who's a very smart, sensible friend of mine, said that. He says, I think he realized the world I was moving into, which is a quite ruthless world without any real accountability, which I find very difficult. People can behave in quite strange and horrible ways without being held accountable. And we're talking about the 90s now, and we all know what happened to a lot of those guys. And I think the best piece of advice was this, it doesn't matter. I mean, it sounds like such a cliche. It sounds like something you write on a fucking postcard, you know. But he said that, remember, it doesn't matter how good you become as a photographer unless you develop and become a better person at the same time. And I think that means a lot, because in having seen people in this business, because it's very hard to understand this it's a bit like, I mean, not that I am, but it's a bit like being a musician or a pop star or rock star for many people. And they can get carried away with fame, with wealth, with sex, with whatever. And you kind of look at it and you kind of go, oh my God, I don't even want to be close. It's like a storm passing by on the horizon. So I think the best piece of advice is it's basically saying, don't get into it. Enjoy the world and what it can contribute and how you can contribute to it, but just stay yourself and try to develop. And I think that's the best advice. In terms of moments, there's many, and it's very hard to pinpoint one. But on a personal level, it's like a Hallmark postcard. You know, it's like a cliche, but it's really important.
Later this autumn, sometimes in November, the Pirelli calendar will be published, launched, they will say, for which you have taken the images. What was your framework for taking these images? It's quite, I don't know, can we say who we've been shooting?
Oh yeah, we can say we can be shooting. We did it together. You shaped it with me. Yeah. It is a complex situation, the Pirelli
with quite
calendar.
Famous models.
Yes, so it's been going since the 60s. It's been a reflection of its time in good and bad ways, I think we can say.
Yeah.
It was always, you know, people's perception of what the calendar is like beautiful naked women on a beach. Yeah. But as you know better than, and I can say better than anyone because you studied it very carefully, you know it's more than that. It's
a lot more than that.
It's a lot more than that. So it was interesting to try to challenge the perception of what it was. They have had about 5-6 years after Me Too hit the wall big time, where they went completely away from what they used to do. Rightfully so. I mean, the low point was their Terry Richardson calendar. I think you can, without, you know, I'm sure Terry is a better person than what it's being portrayed as, but that calendar isn't great.
But your framework.
But how do you do something as loaded as that? Yeah. Because it's women, it's sensuality, it's nature, and we both know that if you take any person into nature and do a picture, there are 50 million pictures already that exist like that. So how do you do that? You know, how do you in a fashion house, they would talk about codes. So the codes of Pirelli is sensuality and nature. Mm. And how do you do that? So my first instinct was like, I don't want to work with models. I want to work with women. So, you know, we work with 75-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds.
In a studio.
In a studio. And we took nature with us to the studio. So we used sort of huge, not too dissimilar to this, but just bigger and better, huge screens with nature behind, because this is the first time they made a film as well. Yeah. So we had to shoot film and pictures at the same time. So you had to make a setup that works for both things. Everything, you know, it's like the McQueen catalog. Yeah. Photography is about solving problems. Mm. Or for you? Arnold Newman said that photography is 90% about moving furniture and 10% about pictures. It's true.
Yeah.
It's like you have to deal with reality. How can you make it into the world that you want to do? That's the thing.
And and that will be launched in November, right?
14th of November in Prague. Yeah.
See you. For Sigma, we have done a book, or you have done. I just been a friend around it.
You designed it. Come on.
It's a book. It's very funny though. It's because there's so many photographers in the past and now that have made this sort of ending up, or you not ending up with it. This I hope this is in your mid-career, but for a lot of people, they're just doing a book about flowers, and we have done a book now called Hanataba, which is the Japanese word for bouquet. And when I saw the images, I was said, okay, let's do this. And it's about vanity, transcends, artificiality, and death, reborn. For me, it was. And please show us, Albin, the images for Hanataba. Can you do that? Yeah, here are some of them, at least. This is the Hanataba project. Please tell me about these flowers.
So, I've got so many things to say. Sorry, guys. But in a way, to start with what you start saying, well, it's a bit like saying to a composer, oh, everyone's done a piece in D minor. You can't do a piece in D minor. It's too, it's too beautiful. Like, fuck off. The thing with flowers, a bit like we did a thing with parrots as well. And flowers are, in a way, the botanical fashion world. So they make themselves as exciting and beautiful as possible to attract things, right? Through evolution. So in a way, it's fashion. It's flower fashion. Now, how do you do that? So there's a huge challenge. This is a challenge that came out of, and these are not real flowers, by the way. They are photographic only in name. So in the world we are in today, we work with AI, and it's unethical because it basically sources everyone's work. So how can you do something that's interesting? So I had photographed hundreds of flowers for different things, and we photographed additional hundreds of flowers. So we made
because this is, we are launching the book now, and you've been working for this for quite some time,
since
right?
2019. So what do you do in lockdown, right? You photograph things that won't kill you. Yeah. Well, eating them would probably kill me, but
I do understand.
Yeah. So we photographed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of flowers, and then we made up a separate. And this technology is obsolete now. It's gone. You can't make these ones like that anymore because it's so old-fashioned. Because the technology was so shit, and the fact that the technology is so shit makes it interesting for me. In a way that it doesn't look like a perfect flower. It looks like a painting of a flower. So it is the idea of a flower in a way. And
it's a new flowers.
Yeah, there's new flowers. It's basically evolution sped up in a way.
From a Sundsbø perspective.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of more, there are, it is such a beautiful thing. Flowers are beautiful things, but it's very, very hard to subvert flower photography. If you look at photography, like Mapplethorpe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Martin Parr.
Martin Parr flowers.
Yeah,
Nick Knight, Martin Parr, the most beautiful roses.
Yeah.
You have,
Blossfeldt, of course.
Everyone. Penn.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Everyone's done it, and it's like.
But it's fun that they have, They have sort of, okay, let's do flowers.
You know what? I guess you know what it is? I think it's like a pianist saying, I really want to play the Goldberg variations. How can I surpass Glenn Gould? How can I surpass, or not surpass, that's wrong. Yeah. How can I make it my own?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a better way of saying it. So it is kind of like, it's almost like a...
I do think you have succeeded, though.
Thank you.
I mean, they are looking like a Sundsbø bouquet.
Thank you. Well, it's definitely my own. Even if it's and even if you do it with the AI, it is a really complicated process because the software is so old. So it wasn't just like pressing a button and boop. It's like pressing a button and you get loads of different options, and then you choose some of the options and they make up new options. So it's a very involved, early, lo-fi version of AI. And it's so shit that they've stopped making it. So I can't do these anymore.
No, but we do have a book there. Yeah. So I got two last questions as we're going to end this. You said you were not good at anything, so you had to choose photography. I do think that it's not really the truth. But if you haven't chosen photography, what have you done? You know, if you haven't done being a photographer, what have you done?
It's like,
have you ever think about that?
My wife asked me that.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, because you can dream and say, "Oh, I would have liked to have done that." But then
I'm not talking about
realistic.
What would you have done?
I don't know.
Photography saved you.
I think photography saved me.
Yeah.
I think potentially, I could have been a decent chef. Because I think some of the same things comes into this. You haven't tasted my... You always eat Marianne's food. You know you always eat Marianne's food when you're at house. Because she's a much better chef than me.
Okay, so that says it all, okay?
But that's because, you know, there's domestic peace, right? But I think because it's some of the same... The thing is, Marianne, my wife, came to a shoot I did for Shiseido, I think. It was a film, and she's like, "Oh, I realize what you do for a living now." It's like, okay, what do you mean? It's like, you're a general. Because there's 100 people on set, right? And you kind of go, you know, to be able to concentrate.
That was the Swedish chef.
Yeah, that was the Swedish chef. But I think some of that could work in a kitchen. So not because I would be an extremely good person at making food, but I'm good at leading a team.
Okay, so you would have...
That's the only thing I can think of.
A chef. Okay, that's fine.
I'm not saying it's right.
No, exactly. So my last, are you excited by the future?
Yeah, terrified and excited. And I think, you know, I wanted to be a historian, and I realized that I would have been an awful historian. But I'm still a student of history, a very keen student of history. And I do realize that despite all our pessimism, this is an ongoing human trope, and that the rumors of our imminent demise are strongly exaggerated.
Is that your last words for
Yes.
tonight? Okay.
But
So
that's a very English way of saying something positive.
Yeah.
By making it a negative. So can I say this? Turn it around so the rest of the world can understand.
Yeah.
If you're not an Anglophile, I would say we're going to be okay.
Is that a good last word?
No.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Sølve.
I think someone said that there might be some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you have any questions, I have a microphone here to pass around. And don't forget to see the book. That is, you saw it the first time today, right?
I saw it first time an hour ago.
So it's premiering.
Hour and a half. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's
Are
fresh.
there any questions?
Come on. Don't be so Swedish.
Or Norwegian.
Oh, you know.
Yeah, I must say thank you. Thank you so much.
We have made a very good...
They're just like, come on, I want to go and have a drink.
Yeah, and we have gave them all the answers.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your evening.